Dionysus, the journey of the god of wine and the wrath in Thebes. Before we set sail into this tale of madness and divinity, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, where ancient myths rise again through the power of storytelling. Upon the vast ocean, the sunlight poured down like fiery javelins, piercing the dark blue waters that snarled beneath. The small wooden boat was laden with hardy shadows, the sound of waves hitting the hull mixing with the rough, acrid, wine-soaked laughter of the pirates. Amongst them, a slender, sun-scorched young man, his eyes betraying deep unease, Acotes, a helmsman from Meonia. He was not an evil man, but fate had bound him to the path of sin. He had once been a sailor, a lover of the sea and the wind, but on a fateful voyage, he was forced to join this band of pirates to save his life. And today, that same ship had committed a terrible mistake, kidnapping a strange young man found sleeping by the shore. As they hauled the slender form onto the deck, Acotes felt a strange energy infiltrate the space. No one else noticed, but his instinct screamed. This was no ordinary mortal. A light seemed to shimmer around the youth's skin, and his lips moved in his sleep, as if whispering ancient songs that the sea still remembered. The pirates roared with laughter. Some drunken nobleman will sell him for a good price. But Acotes felt his stomach tighten. He stepped forward, speaking softly. "Don't do this. I don't know who he is, but something isn't right." But his warning was swallowed by mocking laughter. "Are you afraid, Acotes, or are you so drunk you're imagining gods?" And so the sails were raised. The ship left the harbor and cleaved through the boundless sea. It was not long before the young man awoke. He sat up slowly, his black hair spilling over his shoulders, his eyes bright as moonlight on the waves. His voice rang out, gentle yet full of authority. "Take me back to that island." Acotes saw an indescribable light in those eyes. He nodded, about to command the ship to turn back, but the pirates burst into laughter, rowing harder in the opposite direction. "We're taking you to the slave market. Someone is sure to pay a high price for a face like yours." The young man smiled, a smile that sent shivers down Acotes' spine. Then the sea began to change color. The water beneath their feet was no longer deep blue. It gradually became thick, dark as wine. From the deck, ivy tendrils sprouted, wrapping around the mast like snakes. Ripe berries burst open, wine poured out and mingled with the wind, a strangely sweet, intoxicating scent. The pirates panicked. Some tried to row, but the oars had turned into grapevines. Others drew their swords, but the blades softened like wax. Acotes could only stand frozen. The youth stood tall amid the chaos, a fennel staff in his hand and a glittering wreath of grapes upon his head. Music erupted from nowhere, drums, flutes, strings blending into a maddening, drunken frenzy. "I am Dionysus, son of Zeus and Semele, the god of wine, festival, and ecstasy." The pirates screamed, trying to jump off the ship, but it was too late. Their spines curved, their skin became sleek like fish scales, their noses elongated, their mouths turned into snouts. In an instant, the deck held only a school of frenzied dolphins, circling the ship like a dance of retribution. Acotes knelt down, unsure whether to weep or laugh, but Dionysus bent down slightly, smiling mischievously. "You believed, and you shall be blessed. Come with me." From that day, Acotes followed Dionysus back to the god's island. There, he witnessed a completely different world, where mortals and gods merged into endless revelry. Every night they drank, sang, and danced by the firelight, sacrificing sacred animals amidst roars of joy. The frenzied women, called Maenads, ran through the woods with blazing eyes, tangled hair, screaming the god's name. Acotes gradually lost track of time. Each morning he woke up with only vague memories of the night before, the wine, the drums, the arms raised in drunken fervor. Yet his heart eagerly awaited the coming night, as if his very soul was drawn into the wine god's endless vortex. Then one night, Dionysus gazed into the distance. His voice deepened, his eyes holding an ancient sorrow. "It is time for me to return to my homeland, Thebes. There, I still have an unpaid debt." Acotes remained silent. He did not know that the god had once been scorned by the very people of that place. Many years ago, Semele, Dionysus' mother, was a princess of Thebes. Zeus, the lord of thunder, fell in love with her and she bore the god's child. But when Hera, Zeus's wife, learned of it, she sowed the seeds of doubt in Semele's heart. Semele demanded that Zeus reveal his true form to prove his love. Zeus, bound by an unbreakable oath, appeared in his divine form, and that celestial light incinerated Semele to ashes. Zeus saved the unborn child, sewing it into his thigh until full term, and thus Dionysus was born from the thigh of the thunder god. But when he returned to Thebes, where his mortal mother once lived, no one welcomed him. Semele's kin despised him, calling him a madman, the child of deceit. Among them was Pentheus, the king of Thebes, Semele's nephew, and thus Dionysus's cousin. Pentheus was proud, a believer in reason, order, and law. He hated all things beyond control, and above all, he scorned Dionysus, seeing the god as the embodiment of chaos. Rejected, Dionysus left Thebes in bitterness. But now he returned, no longer the cast-out child, but a god with followers, with power, and with an endless ecstasy trailing behind him. As Dionysus's procession entered Thebes, the entire city seemed to be swept into a dream. Drums echoed from the hills, flutes spread through the streets. People abandoned their work, women left their homes, running after the procession. They sang, they danced, they shed the shackles of reason. Even Pentheus's mother, Agave, and his aunts joined the rites, utterly intoxicated. Pentheus was enraged. He believed the wine god was polluting the order of Thebes. "I will put an end to this madness," he roared. He ordered Dionysus's arrest, but his soldiers returned only with a drunken man, Akos, the god's devotee. "Who are you?" Pentheus thundered. "I am merely one chosen by the god. You cannot imprison what you do not," replied, his voice soft as the wind. Pentheus went mad. He threw Akos into the dungeon, vowing to personally put an end to his people's frenzy. But just as he left, the prison doors burst open on their own. Akos did not flee, but merely looked up at the sky, where Dionysus's flute still echoed like an invitation. In the red glow of the sunset, Pentheus headed towards the forest where the devotees were gathered. Drums and songs reverberated throughout the valley. He hid behind a tree, watching the chaotic scene, hundreds of women dancing, their hair playing in the wind, their eyes distant and strange. Dionysus stood amongst them, silent like a director orchestrating the madness. He knew Pentheus was watching. He wanted to teach that man, who considered himself the emblem of reason, a lesson about the limits of mortality. The god approached Pentheus, feigning ignorance. "Who are you, stranger? Why do you not join the revelry?" Pentheus scoffed. "I am the king of Thebes, and I will end this madness." Dionysus smiled, his voice like wine soaking into the listener's ear. "Then come closer. Look clearly upon the thing you call madness." In a state of fascination, Pentheus donned the women's clothes Dionysus offered him, pretending to be a devotee to infiltrate the ceremony. When he stepped into the crowd, everyone cheered. The music swelled, louder, faster, like the frantic heartbeat of a beast about to be hunted. Agave, his mother in the frenzy induced by Dionysus, saw a beast lurking among the leaves. She no longer recognized her son. A scream rang out. "The lion sees him." Together with her sisters, Agave lunged. They tore Pentheus limb from limb, amidst the music, the wine, and the god's smile. Akos witnessed it all. He wanted to cry out, to beg the god to stop. But Dionysus merely laughed, a laugh that echoed through the valley. That laughter was not one of joy, but of a debt of hatred finally repaid. When the sun rose, the frenzy dissipated. Agave awoke, holding Pentheus's head in her hand. She stared at it in horror, then screamed. Dionysus had vanished, leaving only the faint scent of wine on the wind. Akos looked around. The ground was scattered, the remains of the night's revelry, now only the dry husks of dreams. He understood that his god was not a savior, but one who stood on the boundary between destruction and enlightenment. Dionysus is the god of wine, but that wine is both elixir and poison. It frees people from fear, but also strips away reason. It gives us the feeling of living life to the fullest, yet it can make us lose ourselves. Akos continued to live, forever carrying the image of the god in his heart, one who was as brilliant as light, yet as dark as the final intoxication. He understood that the gods do not exist to soothe humanity, but to illuminate the deepest part of their souls, where reason and instinct, light and shadow, coexist. Dionysus, the god of wine, of festival, of madness, is not merely a symbol of joy, but a reminder that within every human being there is a Thebes, a place of order, of reason, yet also harboring a yearning for liberation. And sometimes, just a sip of wine, just a song, is enough to shatter the wall separating mortal and God. The myth of Dionysus does not end with victory or defeat, but with an eternal truth. Freedom and destruction are but a breath of wine apart. If myths like this ignite your imagination, subscribe now and join us on more journeys through the ancient world, where gods, mortals and madness intertwine.